Welcome to A Million and One Things.
Girls, get it together. You have a show to do.
Because it's cool to know stuff. Let's get started. Welcome to our show, A Million and One Things, because it's cool to know stuff. We are sponsored by Quirky Minds Media, your full-service media service production company. You can find us out at quirkymindsmedia.com and see if we can help you do whatever you want to do out there, like a video or a podcast. We can do it for you. My name is Temple Kinyon, and I'm with my wonderful host, Cynthia De Boer, and she's going to introduce our wonderful guest today.
Yes. Hi, Temple, and welcome everyone out there. Today we have a very special guest, and she's very special for many reasons. I have no idea how she even finds the time. She's a woman of many talents, and she's also an author. Today we're going to be discussing something that's really interesting to us. This woman has had an amazing career as a designer, and we're going to explore that today. So welcome, Morgan. And before we discuss that career, why don't you give us a little bit of background about you?
Oh, well, have you got 3 or 4 hours? I have had a gazillion careers in my life, and I've had a pretty long life at this point. So
Yay.
I have the room to fit it in, right?
There you go.
Yeah, I started out as a secretary, then I was an administrative assistant, then I was an office manager, then I was an interior designer, I was in the travel business, I worked as a manufacturer's rep, and I also worked as a manufacturer's rep for furniture made in federal prisons, which was interesting,
Wow.
and the inspiration for my book Ripoff. And, sometimes I go through this and I think, have I forgotten anything? And generally, after an interview, I remember something that I did that I didn't talk about.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a rich life. That sounds like lots of interesting stuff.
Well, I'm my mother's daughter, and so is my sister. And my mother instilled us with the feeling that we could do anything we set our minds to, and if we didn't know how to do it, we would learn. And that's exactly what our lives have been.
Now, that's a good thing, I think.
It sounds like it, just based off of what you've talked to us about since we've known you. Yes.
Exactly.
Sounds like it. So through our research, which you were kind enough to share some stuff with us, but we have known you for a little while. So
Right.
through our research, we discovered that you wrote design articles under the name Elaine Pransky. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. That is actually my legal first name. I dropped it when I got to be a big kid. Pransky was the name of my second husband, and we're still friends.
So is Morgan your middle name then?
Morgan is my middle name.
Oh, okay.
And there was a period of time when I was working in a man's world in marketing and trying to get people to call me back as Elaine, and they wouldn't. And so at that point, I used E. Morgan St. James. And they didn't know if I was a man or a woman. I'd get the calls back. They'd say, your boss left a message for me. I'd say, who was that? They'd say, Morgan St. James. And I'd say, you've got her.
Wow.
that is awesome.
Sneaky. I love it.
That is awesome. So why did you decide to change?
Oh, what?
I guess that's why. Is so
that was definitely why.
reason?
It was the credibility thing. And by using the initial E, it made me sound like I might have been a man.
Yeah.
And I eventually wound up being one of the top producers in that field. It was very early in the stages of cubicles where people didn't even know what cubicles were.
Right.
And so it was a hard sell. I had to learn how to do a feature and benefits sell.
Wow.
Yeah, that's got to be very difficult. So now you mentioned that you're still friends with your first husband.
No, second husband.
Second
My first
husband.
husband is pushing up the daisies.
Oh, okay.
And we weren't friends anyway.
And you weren't friends anyway. So there's the question. How many times have you been married?
3. And I'm single now.
Oh, okay.
I guess that's one of the things I just didn't get right.
I have a friend who says, there's nothing wrong with me. My picker's just broken.
Or maybe you just did it right 3 times.
Well, second time, except my second husband, he's a delightful person. He's somebody that everybody loves, but that Peter Pan aspect is what made our marriage not work.
Oh.
Because I'm a 2 feet on the ground person.
Oh.
And it's very hard to be married to somebody who is always after the pie in the sky.
Right.
That is definitely
But we have 2
different.
wonderful kids together.
Oh, well, there you go. That's why that was the right
Yep.
thing to do.
Yep, and I do have a son from my first marriage. Would you believe my oldest son is 60 years old?
Wow.
No.
Same age as me.
I would not.
Yeah.
You are a go-getter.
What actually got you into the design business? What were you doing before that? Or
There we come back into my second husband.
Oh.
Okay. As I said, I'd been working as a secretary, administrative assistant, office manager, and Elliot was a furniture manufacturer's rep. So one time, one of the showrooms down at the LA Furniture Mart needed a quick redo before a furniture show. And Elliot said, "Oh, my wife can do it." And of course, there we are, something you've never done before, but you'll figure out how to do it. So I did that showroom. And while I was doing it, a fabric manufacturer saw me working on it and said, "Hey, we need a quick touch-up. Can you come down? We'll pay you blah, blah dollars."
Wow.
So I went down and I did that one. And then I thought, maybe I could do something besides office work.
Yeah.
I've always been in creative.
Yeah.
So then, because Elliot could get furniture wholesale, and a lot of times we'd sell some pieces to people at discounts, and they'd say, "Could you help me put my room together?" So at that point, I was a decorator. I would do that. But being somebody who always likes to have the basis for what I'm doing, I went back to school. I went back to UCLA and to courses at the Furniture Mart when I was in my 30s to learn my craft. And
Good
then I
for
became a
you.
designer.
And there is a difference between designer and decorator,
Oh, yes.
which we've talked about briefly, but maybe give,
Well, a decorator basically works with the decor, with the furniture, the accessories, the window coverings, floor coverings.
Right.
A designer actually designs things and frequently works with architects. I don't know if I can still do it. It's been a lot of years.
You could.
But I used to be able to
Yeah.
look at a floor plan and draw a complete elevation of it.
Yeah.
I've designed wall units. I've designed storage units. I designed a whole design upgrade center for one developer. And those are things that typically a decorator would not be able to
So
do.
you do the bones and the basis.
Exactly.
And everything that, like you said, not literal, but the foundation, well, maybe literal too, but the foundation or basis of a room or building or condo
Right.
or office or
Right.
cubicle
Yeah.
or whatever it might be.
I worked with model homes. I didn't do a lot with residential because my personality is not one where I can handle somebody taking 5 days to decide on a lamp.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a fast track person. I mean, I could design 6 model homes in the time I might be able to get one residential done.
Yeah, and there is something really kind of interesting about model homes because I grew up in the construction industry, and we would go in and you would look at these homes and say you had a 12 by 12 bedroom or whatever, but it was really kind of sneaky how some of the stuff was done.
Yep.
Everything was downsized.
Yep.
So it would make the floor area that was actually visible look larger. So it was really kind of interesting that they would do that.
Wow.
Yeah, so you put a queen size bed in there, it wasn't really a queen size bed. It was a couple inches shorter.
Yep.
If you put a desk in there, it was a couple inches shorter than what a normal desk was.
Right.
And that's what they do. And that actually helps sell the homes. But then we would get people that would come in, because I did staircases and interior trim, and we get people that come in and say, "Oh, I really like the furniture and blah, 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 blah." And then they'd go check it out and start doing their own dimensions. And they went, "Yeah, maybe we'll go to R.C. Willey's."
That
weird.
happened. That happened with the first house that I had with my first husband. I was 19 years old, going on 20, and we loved the model home of the home that we bought. And we had this big king-size bed and a big dressers and high boys and the whole thing. And when we got our furniture into the master bedroom, I said to my then husband, "I don't think the bed is supposed to be right up against the dresser."
Ew.
But there's another thing too, Cynthia, that people didn't realize. In areas where you had sofas,
Yep.
the 30-inch deep sofa when a typical sofa was 36 inches.
Yep.
or 34.
Kidding.
No
Okay,
kidding.
it's cool to know stuff because I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
Man, I bet I got gypped through the years buying houses. Thanks a lot. No. And then wondering why the heck our furniture didn't fit the way that
There
other
you go.
furniture did.
Yeah,
And-
and
Now I
it
know.
really, and it does
Right.
get quite frustrating. You know?
Yeah, and you always think it's your own fault.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
didn't
like-
measure right or something.
What? That just didn't look the same. You're kind of questioning yourself.
You're
and
like,
it's
look at all this space, and then you get in
Okay,
there and
now
it's
I'm going to
not
blow
there.
that all apart because one of the things that my partner and I did when we were doing model homes before I went with the developer, we insisted on using regular sized furniture.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And we would explain it to the developer. And we would say, we know a lot of designers use downsized furniture, but we really need to use regular sized furniture so you don't have a disgruntled buyer afterwards.
Well,
Yeah.
God bless America. Thank you,
Yeah.
Morgan, for
Yeah.
being honest.
Yeah, and I did the same thing when I worked
Yeah.
for Greg Ganji. All of the furniture was easily available in stores
Good.
in the
Good,
sizes.
good.
Yeah.
You just mentioned your partner. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Your
Yeah,
business
your
partner.
business
partner.
Tell us about her.
Well, after I had been doing some design work on my own for people that were buying furniture from my ex, my sister-in-law, Carol Levesque, was also a designer. And despite the fact that we were sister-in-laws, we became partners in a design studio.
Oh,
And
Did not make
nice.
that connection.
It was
Okay.
a good collaboration because, as I mentioned, I'm a very fast track person. Carol is very detail oriented. So she would always put the polishing touches. She'd have concepts that were a little different than mine. And we got along very, very well. Carol was a former, shall we say, cheesecake actress.
Oh,
She was absolutely gorgeous and had a figure to die for. So she was always a good front with the male clients.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, whatever works.
But Carol
right.
came from an interesting family. Her father was the last living Keystone Cop.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
And her mother had been a studio artist that did the titles when she met Carol's father.
Oh, my goodness.
cool.
Yeah.
That is
And
cool.
so Carol grew up in what in those days was called a bohemian family. And so she marched to a different drummer. She always thought that the other families on the block were the strange families. She didn't realize that theirs were. But the benefit from that is that she was also an astrologist. And while I'm not really into astrology, I fit such a perfect profile of a Virgo. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And after being in partnership with Carol for 5 years, I loosened up so much that it actually affected my design and later my writing.
Oh, cool.
And to this day, we're still very good friends, even though she lives in LA and I live here.
Oh, that's
Excuse me,
great.
here in Las Vegas. She was a very big influence on me in many aspects of my life.
Well, that's incredible.
That is good
Yeah.
that it's still a positive
Yeah, I mean,
relationship.
when Greg Ganji made me the offer to set up their design studio, we had, a design studio in Studio City, California.
There you go.
On Ventura Boulevard. And I told Carol that I was in the middle of a divorce from my second husband. I needed a steady income. And I had Carol buy me out. So, as I said, despite that, we remained friends through the years.
I was going to ask you how that partnership ended, but it sounds like it was amicable.
It
and
ended amicably.
You went on to do other things together.
Right,
So that's
right.
exciting.
Yeah.
That, everyone
Yeah.
take note. You
And
don't have to argue
actually-
it out to get out of something.
I have to tell you, there's a book that I have called Confessions of a Cougar, and it is probably 90% based in reality of a trip that Carol and I made to England in 1980, and we split up the company well before that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow. Sounds like a good book, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were the
exactly.
Cougars.
Yeah,
Yes.
see? Woo-hoo.
Hey, it's pretty shocking when a guy that you're getting involved with is a year younger than your oldest son.
Oh, my.
Wow.
You know what,
Yeah.
though, Morgan? You've got that spitfire, and you're so cute. I can see it.
Yeah,
I can
why
totally
not?
see it.
Why
I might
not?
need to get a copy of that book, though, just to find out that other layer of your life.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking
Yeah.
of books,
Let's put it this way. It was 3 marvelous weeks in England with no shortage of young men, paid for by my then boyfriend.
Wow.
Which-
Well, that's handy.
Well, it's an interesting book because I didn't realize that he'd given Carol and I the trip so that he could get it on with somebody he was attracted
Oh, my
to.
goodness.
Oh, good grief.
Wild
Here we
times.
go. There's a spider in the web.
As the world turns.
Right. That is awesome. Well, we're going to take just a quick second, step
Right.
away from the design world. I know you through 1 Million Books in 100 Days, which is
Right.
James Kelly's program. And that's how I got to read your stuff and get to know you as a person, which I'm very honored. I want our listeners to know that James doesn't showcase just any authors. He researches them and gets to know them and knows their work. And it is quality work. And Morgan's books are awesome. And her covers are fun. And her stories are amazing. And she's got lots of books with 1 Million Books in 100
Yes,
Days.
5.
So, yeah, if you guys are interested in that, I'll let her just mention briefly because we want to get back to the design conversation. But Cynthia and I just wanted to let our listeners know that you are part of that program.
Oh, absolutely. And there are Silver Sisters mysteries books in there. Revenge is fun. And
Revenge is
that's,
Fun is
yeah,
good,
that's
yeah.
another series. And I'm not sure. I think I have my Writer's Tricks of the Trade book in there as well.
Okay.
Yes,
which
you
is
do.
yeah, and that's for writers of all stages of their careers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're a writer, get that book, and then you can join us writing and being part of 1 Million Books in 100 Days.
Yep. And
Right.
the website is up year round, so you all can come and do that. And one of the things that you shared when we did an interview about that program was that, yes, $1 from every book sold does go to charity.
Yes.
And it showcases very special indie authors. So I think that's an awesome thing.
It is. Now everyone knows who you are.
Exactly.
Here I am.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Hey, ladies, what you sees is what you get.
There you
That's
go.
good. That's what we like.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're part of that program. Yeah.
And so actually you had shared with us that when you were in the design industry that you were asked to do some articles for magazines, and that's what kind of ended up leading you into basically becoming a novelist. So could you share just a couple of, we've got two that we've talked about, and the one that Temple and I absolutely loved was the one about the crates. So maybe you can share that one.
Yeah, how
Okay,
it came
and-
about. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was one that Carol and I did together.
I bet. I could tell.
Right?
I was like, yeah, they both did it together. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a unique floor that had been created from packing crates. And you would think funky, but the thing was there were so many amazing woods in these packing crates
Yeah.
from all over the world. And a professional floor fabricator was hired to mill the wood, to cut it to the right sizes and then stain it. And it was almost like looking at a piece of art.
Yeah.
It was so incredible. And so Designers West magazine, which was very prestigious at the time, asked us if we would do an article about the floor. Well, we couldn't hope for more. I mean, getting our firm mentioned in a very prestigious magazine, I mean, that was like
Yeah.
gift from above.
Sure.
So we said, absolutely. And they came out, they did a picture of the two of us sitting on packing crates on the floor, and the deadline was approaching, and there was one big problem. We didn't have an article because we weren't writers. And
Well, you just didn't know it yet.
we had neglected to think about that. So we were just like a day or two from having to submit the article, and we were at my house, and we were drinking wine and commiserating about what pariahs we would wind up being with this magazine when they'd have a page that said there was supposed to be an article here. you know?
Yeah.
So the more wine we drank, the more crazy we got, and we finally decided to do it like a noir mystery.
Yeah.
And we were like, we were sitting in our studio drinking tea when the phone rang, and we scoured the waterfronts and all of that.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, the editor will hate it, but at least we will have done what we said we would do.
Yep.
She called us laughing. She said, I absolutely love it. We're running it. And would you like to do more articles for us? And Carol, still having her finger in acting, said, no, I've got my plate full. I'm really not interested. And I went, I'll do it. And I went on to do many more articles for the magazine.
Well, and the title of that article is just hilarious. The Case of the Disappearing Crates.
Yeah,
dun, dun, dun. Oh.
Yeah.
I,
It's so classic.
I actually put a copy of that article up on my website last week.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
We can direct. What's your website, real quick?
Okay, so it's www.Morgan St. James, and that's STJAMES-author.com.
Okay.
And it's right there on the homepage.
Okay, good. So go out there and check that out. It is a great article. I loved
it, yeah.
So creative and not anything I would have expected in that magazine.
We didn't expect
Yeah.
it either.
Just because it's so different. You know, you would expect it to be just the hands-on, this is how this was
Right.
done and how the woods and the crates and all that. No, it's not that at all. And with the pictures, I mean, it's very creative.
Well, that's how I like to write. That's how my writer's tricks of the trade book is. It's not real techy. It's all told in prose. There's some humor. There's some things that backfired so that you know those things
Good,
can happen.
yeah.
But if you want a techie book, you can go to one that's written
Sure.
that way. And that's just how I like
It's
to
not your
write.
style. Yeah. Your style is just right out there fun.
Well, and I think you
Creative.
learn more.
You
Like
enjoy
anybody,
it.
if you laugh and enjoy it, you're going to remember it better.
Right, exactly. You know, I'll tell you, if we've got time, just a quick little aside is that most of us, when we are taking a class or learning something, we're told to memorize the work.
Yeah.
And we're not told how to learn it.
Yes.
And my oldest son is getting ready to launch his program called A Grades for You, which is an intensive but funny and fun program about learning how to learn.
That's cool.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not quite ready to launch it, but
Keep us posted.
Yeah,
Maybe we can have him on the
have
show.
him on the show.
Oh, well, he could do it long distance. He
Yeah,
lives
we
in
could Zoom.
he lives in Australia, and
One of my
he's-
favorite places.
He was an educator. Then he became a national motivational speaker, but he was somebody who raised his grades in school from C's and D's to graduating from university almost cum laude.
Wow.
And he worked
Good
as
for
an
him.
experiment tutoring students and raised theirs. So he knows it's a program
Yeah,
that works.
I was going to say its program is from
Yeah.
his life.
But
not,
it's evolved over 20 years,
Yeah.
and now it is with professional puppets that are made by the same company as make the Muppets.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I
it's
love
great.
it.
I'll put you in touch with
Please
him.
do.
That would be great.
Stay tuned, listeners.
Yeah. So we got a couple questions for you,
Sure.
which was basically what was your favorite design and maybe one of your most challenging. And then I want to hit upon what you said about murals when you're done
Oh,
with that.
okay. I think the most challenging was when I was hired by Braemar Homes in California to set up a central design center and be the manager of it. And I was told that everything was ready to go. They'd worked with a consultant, and all I had to do was implement her information. And when I got it, I had a couple of months to put together every single thing involved in that design center, from modifying the floor plan, designing the fixtures, doing the pricing structures, doing the business plan, interviewing and hiring designers and training them, and turning a profit in the first year.
Oh, man.
Wow.
So
That's
you
awesome.
got basically nothing from this person. I
Well-
mean, did you feel like I got to scramble and do this? Or
Oh,
did
yeah.
you want to run?
Oh, no. Well, kind of a combination of the two. I mean, there were times when I'd sit at my desk and think, what did I get myself into
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
And I was fortunate that I hired good people.
Good.
And they were a good part of the success. But what I got from the consultant was a floor plan that didn't work. The dimensions were wrong. The fixture companies that she recommended were no longer manufacturing those fixtures. There was no resourcing for all the upgrade materials, carpeting, tile, all of those things.
Oh, my goodness.
And I mean, basically, she designed other design centers and they looked fine, but this one wasn't going to fly with the information that I was given.
Wow. But you did it.
Yeah.
But I did it.
You had that get up and go attitude that your mom put in you, and you did it. She brought into the studio some things for us to look at, and it's amazing the things that you started with and how it ended up, and that you were successful in that first year.
Right.
I mean, thereafter too, I'm sure, but that first year, that's the deciding factor right there.
I have to say that the majority of the homes at that time were 1.2 million, 1.4 million. So you had some really sophisticated buyers.
Oh, yeah.
And this one fellow tried to pull the wool over and get away with a whole bunch of things. And he kept saying that one of the owners of the company promised him this upgrade and that upgrade. And then that owner said, I don't recall doing it, but maybe we have to honor it. The bottom line is I made $25,000 on that guy.
Wow.
And he
Atta
never
girl.
knew it.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how you do it. They
That
never know.
is how you do it. So, favorite design.
Okay, favorite design. I worked with Steve Garvey and Cindy Garvey when they were married.
That's so cool.
And I think that was one of my favorite designs because Cindy had very good taste. Steve was a delight to work with, although Cindy was the heavy and Steve was the guy everybody shook hands with. And we got to design a lot of custom furniture and things like that. And I became friends with the Garveys at that point. And that was during the time of my life when I was designing as Elaine Pransky.
Oh, cool. That is really
That is
cool.
really cool. And wasn't there something about in their family room?
Oh,
about them?
actually, we had two articles. We had the cover of Designers West, but we couldn't mention their name. That was the caveat. And it was called The Changeable Room, and it was a room that was easily converted in a very short period of time with slipcovers to totally different looks.
Yeah.
And they did a composite of 4 different looks on the cover.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
And then we did in their first home, in the family room, we did a mural on redwood bender board that covered the entire wall. And it was the new Dodgers in the foreground. And Steve had so much memorabilia of the old Dodgers that the graphics artist did a whole back view of the old Dodgers in sepia with the new Dodgers all in brilliant color.
Yeah.
And then when they sold that house, they sold it with the agreement that they would be able to take down those boards.
Yeah.
And so every board was numbered when it was taken down so that it could be put back together like a puzzle in the new house.
Cool.
And we hired the same graphics artist, and the mural was extended to a second wall. He continued off the original mural.
Cool. Yeah, she's got pictures, and it is really cool. You should put that out on your website, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really
Yeah,
should.
it is really neat, especially who it is, because it just obviously fits. But Cynthia wanted you to talk about the mural, the fact that the artwork was so unique and so just eye-catching and well done. They didn't have to leave it because it was painted on the
Right.
wall. They were painted on these boards.
Right.
And so they could take it with them if they chose to,
Right.
which they did. That is very clever.
Well, I'll tell you a funny little aside. There were some magazine coverage on that, not for me, but for the
Sure.
project. But Pacific Builders put a photo on their cover with the mural and Steve, and their dog was sitting there.
Oh, wow.
They used the wrong photo, and the caption was Steve and his beautiful wife Cindy.
Oh,
and if you
no.
can imagine,
wow.
she went absolutely ballistic.
I bet.
Oh,
my
no.
gosh.
You
Yeah.
love the dog, but boy, you don't want to make that mistake.
I think that would
I
be
can't believe
one that
no
would
one caught that.
Yeah. That would be a little ouch for her, I think.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it was a Cocker Spaniel, with these ears and the
flowing
whole
ears.
thing.
Oh my gosh.
And I have to say, Cindy was a beautiful gal. She looked a lot
Oh,
like
yeah.
Farrah Fawcett.
Yes, I remember seeing him on TV.
Yeah.
They must have had like Bob Hope specials or something when I was a kid, and he would be on there.
Uh-huh.
And they would, but they were kind of celebrities too, obviously.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome.
They were a
though.
great
That
couple.
is really good.
How fun!
I love that. And my sister's an artist, and she has done murals. She actually did one at the school that she's at. And that was the thing that she said was, I really wish that I could have put it on a really thin board so that we could take it with us, or she could take it and touch it
Yeah.
up and all that kind of thing. And it does make a difference, because I do know a lot of murals that are painted even on the sides of buildings, and they get weathered, or the artist passes away, and then all of their work goes,
Right,
For
down
naught.
the tube.
Right.
yeah.
So,
it's
see,
kinda
it's
sad.
cool.
By the
to
way,
learn
we have
stuff.
something in common. My co-author and my sister, Phyllis Bradner, on the Silver Sisters, she's also an artist, and she is a
oh,
co-owner of a gallery.
Oh, wow.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. Well, my
Connections.
sister actually learned from Bob Rossi's protege,
Hey.
and she painted and did all this stuff, and then she decided that she wasn't really happy with her work because it wasn't her. She was emulating what she'd been taught, but then she started doing her own stuff, and she does a lot of mixed media, and she does a lot of oils and
Oh,
stuff
that's
like that,
cool.
and she's actually teaching art right now. So it's a lot of fun, but again, the idea of the mural on a bender board is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So there's a lot of takeaways from today's show, but that's definitely one that we can all implement in our home decor.
That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yes.
Yep, I think so. Well, I think it's about time to wrap things up, and we want to thank you very, very much, Morgan, for being
Yes,
here and
thank you.
sharing some of your life with us and some of your little cougar adventures. And all that kind
you don't know
fun
the half
stuff.
of it.
I really want a copy of that book
Yay.
signed, please.
Yes, exactly.
I'll pay cover price.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you, Temple. We make a great team, and I love
Yes, we
having
do.
Temple and I together on this because as writers, this was just another way for us to reach out, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
And I want to thank both of you for
Aw.
having me on. You know, it isn't often I get to talk about things other than writing.
Yeah.
Well, we are just pleased that we could probably have at least another few shows with you, so we might ask you
Oh,
back.
well, let's see. We could go into marketing furniture
See?
made in prisons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do a show on that. I really think that'd be
Yeah.
interesting. I really do.
I really do too, because
Yeah.
people don't really understand that every building you got space to fill, and you got to fill it, whether it's a jail or somebody's bedroom.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's got to
Well,
be done.
they can only sell to federal accounts.
yeah.
They
Yeah.
can't sell to the general public.
Right.
But one of the things that astounded me with that is that people think of prisons manufacturing license plates.
Yeah.
Well, when I was repping them, they made over 150 products, and it was close to $1 billion a year business.
Wow.
And the biggest business was in the furniture and cubicles,
Interesting.
Wow.
which was about $600 million a year.
Okay, Morgan, we got to get you
Yeah,
back.
we got to get you back.
Listeners will definitely want you back on that one. It's so interesting. So
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, check us out at amillionandonethings.com because Temple and I have our own little website, and we have a player there
Yep.
with all of our shows listed, so y'all can check out. And then if you have any questions or comments, we do want to do an email show where we
Oh,
talk
cool.
about what they've asked or that kind of thing. And to do that and let us know about our show, you go to amillionandonethingsshow@gmail.com because, as Temple and I always say, 1,000,001 things because it's cool to know stuff. See you next time. Join us next time when we come up with something new.
After all, there's always 1,000,001 things to talk about.